afternoon or good evening, where depending on where you're at. For me, it's Tuesday, July the 30th at about 3:52 in the evening or afternoon, and the Rules Embassy is now open, albeit briefly. So this week was going to be one of those fun weeks where myself and a lot of my USA Triathlon technical official friends were going to be geeking out all week long over the events at the Paris Olympiad, and we were suddenly slapped upside the head, shoulders, and upper torso this probably about 2 hours ago with the notification that the men's race was going to be slid one day to the right. So I've got an afternoon with nothing better to do, and I'm probably going to go out in the rain and walk and feel sorry for myself and my miserable state of being far away from triathlon temporarily at the moment. So if you've been geeking out in triathlon like I have as of late, you've probably figured out by this time that Taylor Knibb is a monster on the bicycle. So she's an Olympian in the standard distance triathlon, for those of you that have been hiding up under a rock all springtime long. She's performed well so far in the World Triathlon T100 long distance series, and she just so happens to be world champion at the 70.3 mile triathlon distance, okay? Oh, and yeah, she won the U.S. Time Trial Championship, which gave her the right to go represent the United States in the Olympic Games in two sports, all right? So if you watched the women's cycling time trial out on the roads, you're probably asking yourself, maybe you aren't, but I'm going to say the rhetorical question, what the heck happened to Taylor on the Paris TT course? So, how many of you remember the movie Men of Honor? So, remember when the diving school instructor is berating all these trainees and asking them why they would be crazy enough to want to be a Navy diver? And one of the trainees says he was a champion swimmer in school, and the instructor disabuses the young man almost immediately of his illusions with a crude statement that swimming has little to do in common with deep sea diving. So much that way, I'm going to say, coming from experience of road cycling, I've ridden a few time trials and trained a little bit with a road cycling team back when I was much younger. But road cycling and triathlon, yes, they do have a few things in common, but they're much more different than the average fan of either sport knows, okay? I want to talk about three of the differences that exist between cycling and triathlon, all right? When you're talking about bikes, when you're talking about the courses on which the bikes are being ridden, and the style of riding, okay? So if you take the time, there's a qualitative difference between a Union Cyclist International standard time trial bike and a bike that is legal for World Triathlon, not in draft legal racing, all right? And the first time I even thought about this difference was when last year or 2 years ago, something like that, when Paula Findlay won the Canadian Time Trial Championships, and she got the invite to represent Canada at the UCI World Championships. I was watching her video blog, and she mentioned in passing that there were several differences that she had to adjust to on her bicycle, and her partner Eric Lagerstrom had to build her a bike that was UCI standard. So USA Triathlon's multisport rules have stated in the past that time trial bikes which met the UCI standard for time trial could be used in non-draft legal triathlon events. And it's still true as far as the last time that I looked at the rules. And I've read it a few times since the new rules have come out. However, the UCI time trial standards cover areas that World Triathlon doesn't. And when it comes to frames and saddles and wheels, there's some qualitative differences, that you can't just take your bike that's good to go for a USAT non-drafting race and go race a time trial in it. Well, you might, but there's a few things that people will be looking to make you do some adjustments on, all right? So first off, a UCI time trial bike has to weigh at least 6.8 kilograms. That's 16 pounds, all right? And the frame shape is the traditional multiple triangle / diamond type. You can have one of those. I'm trying to remember. Kestrel, yeah, Kestrel was the maker. They had a diamond shaped frame that didn't have a down tube, or I'm sorry, a seat, what they call a seat tube there. You don't have to have that. Okay, but frame tubes on a UCI TT bike, they can be oval in shape, but the widest portion of the tube can be no wider than 3 times the diameter of the narrowest portion. And some of these really Gucci tri-bikes nowadays, I think you're like your Orbeas and some of your Canyons and stuff like that. They've got some down tubes that are a little wider than that 3-to-1 ratio. So you gotta really take an eyeball out and keep an eye out for that sort of thing. And I'm sure that if you look around in the transition area, you might be able to find a beam bike by Diamond or Soft Ride. Actually, Soft Rides are legal for UCI, but and Tri, but I don't know. I'm not so sure about Diamonds. But, all right. So next one, let's talk about the saddle position. So World Triathlon allows the nose of the saddle to be in a range that's about 20 centimeters, 8 inches range, fore or aft of the chainring axle. So you can be anywhere from, I believe it's like 15 centimeters fore and 5 centimeters aft of the of that chain ring. You're gonna have to keep working at, you have to adjust that adjust that saddle. UCI sets the nose of the saddle at 5 centimeters to the rear of that chain ring. So you got, you got to make sure that your adjustments are correct there also. Wheels in both racing categories have to at least have 20 spokes. UCI will allow front disc wheels. If you look, there is, I believe it's not Matthew Van Der Poel, but Remco Evenepoel, the guy who won the men's time trial at Paris this year. He rode a front and a rear disc. UCI will allow that. World Triathlon does not allow front discs. A little too much on the dangerous side there. So let me see where I'm at here. Let's see. 20 spokes. They got to be of identical, but the wheels also have to be of identical size. Commonly, most people use 700 centimeters, but occasionally you'll find smaller bike frames and smaller persons using what's known as a 650 centimeter diameter wheel. All right. So the handlebars, when you're talking handlebars and the aero bar extensions, can only reach out to the front wheel axle, the axle of the front wheel, down at the fork for UCI standards. World Triathlon will allow handlebars and clip-on arrows to go out as far as the leading edge of the front wheel. They allow a little more aggressive positioning out there. But then again, think of this: when you're racing non-drafting races, you're not going to be up close and personal on top of somebody. So, a little easier to maneuver there, or at least not to run into somebody else. All right. So lastly, let's talk about the style of riding in multisport and road cycling. It does differ. So a time trialist at a UCI Tour event, as can be expected, they're riding all out for the simple fact that they're not going to have to be jumping off the bike and running 18 to 22 kilometers, the run leg distance of a 70.3 mile or 100 kilometer long distance event. Okay, they're riding all out, and probably at the intensity level that racers like Taylor Knibb are used to on those more technical standard 40 kilometer distance courses. But she's not wearing, normally not wearing a radio in her ear and keeping an eye out for everything else that's going on there. I've seen enough time trials at cycling events to say that there is a difference between how courses are, let's just say, mitigated. Risks and hazards are mitigated on World Triathlon road courses. World Triathlon's very careful about identifying and mitigating course hazards. One of the things that we had to do as part of my Continental Technical Official training was to develop a risk assessment of a bicycle course, and we ended up literally taking a 400-meter loop bicycle course and having to identify each and every possible hazard that was out there, whether it was a grate, a manhole cover, paint out on the road in a place where a rider might be wanting to change direction, uneven surfaces, speed bumps, and all that sort of stuff. So World Triathlon is also really, really good at allowing familiarization rides prior to the race event, and athletes get a chance to at least ride the course, at least one lap of the course, and sometimes several. I know UCI Tour teams will reconnoiter a course before a time trial, and it's highly possible that the U.S. team did their fair share of prep, but maybe not enough to give someone like Taylor the degree of preparation that a less experienced time trialist would require. Okay, but when all push comes to shove, I'm really pleased to hear her response after the finish, and that she was looking forward to trying the time trial in years to come. And her performance was pretty damned admirable for her third go-round with the Race of Truth. But I think she was probably the victim of a lack of preparation by the U.S. cycling team, and maybe a little underprepared for the specific demands of cycling time trials, which in truth are really a far cry from what triathlon cycling is. I know this is confusing and doesn't necessarily speak to any specific rules that you're gonna deal with, but I hope you enjoy this. And if you do, please like and subscribe. I'll try to do some more videos here in the near future. Within the next 5-6 weeks, we're getting ready to come back over to the United States. We're moving to Denver, Colorado. We're going to be living near our kids and up in the Mile High territory. So there'll be a lot of adjustments here for that one. In case you want to ask me questions about any sort of rules or what's going on, I can be reached at facebook.com/USAT Rules Guy or by email michael.s.bowen@gmail.com. Have yourself a wonderful